Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 6 English lesson on adverbs that compare. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade 6. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of adverbs that compare. All right. So our chapter is, we see our chapter is adverbs that compare. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 6. And then the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of adverbs that compare, it's to form and use comparative and superlative adverbs. And well, better, best, badly, worse, or worst. All right. So when it comes to adverbs, right? Firstly, before we even go to adverbs that compare, an adverb is a word that either tells us about a verb, it tells us about another adjective, or it tells us about another adverb. So we said an adverb, this is how it, even without the comparing part, it is a word that either tells us about a verb, it's the action, an adjective, or it tells us about another adverb, tells us the action that they do. And when it comes to adverbs that compare, so we can then use an adverb to compare actions, and when we compare actions, right, then we have comparative adverbs, ad, adverbs, and we have superlative adverbs. So we have comparative adverbs and we have superlative adverbs. So when it comes to our comparative adverbs, right? A comparative adverb, it compares actions. So it basically compares the actions of a person, of a thing, or a group of actions of some other person, thing, or group. So comparative adverbs, once again, it compares either actions of a person, a group, or group of actions of of another person, thing, or group. So it's basically comparing the two people or two actions of the two people, two things, or two groups. And then we have the superlative adverb. And superlative adverbs, right? It compares the actions of a person, thing, or group to the action of a bigger group that is part of it. So comparative, it's like comparing two people, two things, two groups. Whereas a superlative adverb, it compares the action of one person, thing, or group to the action of a larger group, to more than one person. I'm well, thank you. Hope you're good. How are you? All right, so now when it comes to adverbs, right? Remember we said that adverbs it can be used to compare either words or phrases. And when it comes to adverbs, right? For adverbs that have one syllable in the word. So adverbs that have one syllable in the word, we then just add the er or we add er to make the comparative adverb. That is if it has only one syllable in the word. And if we add est, and if we add est to make the superlative adverb, so basically with a comparative adverb, we add er to make it the comparative adverb. And in order to make it the superlative adverb, we need to add est to our word. So we said we add est to make the superlative adverb. And if the base ends in e, then we drop the e before adding er or est. And if we look at an example, right, of we have a base word as well as a comparative and superlative adverb. So when it comes to our adverbs, right, if our adverb is soon, so the question is when are you going to go wherever or do whatever? Then we say soon. So we have soon. Remember we said with the comparative adverb, we add er, and the superlative adverb, we add est. So soon, sooner, if you compare it to another person, another group, or another thing. And if we were to identify the superlative adverb, right, then we will say it is soonest. We must have said that est needs to be added to our superlative adverb to show the action, to show the action of a larger group. And if we look at another adverb, right, it is close. And if we were to identify the comparative adverb that compares or that shows that the action of a person compared to another person, or the action of a thing compared to another thing, then we can say close is our base word, closer is a comparative if you compare it to another person or thing. But if we now compare it to a larger group of things, and then we can say closest. So soon, sooner, soonest, close, closer, closest. A comparative adverb, it compares the actions of either a person to another person or a thing to another thing. And this a superlative adverbs, it compare actions of a person to a larger group or a thing of a larger group. All right. So now also when it comes to adverbs, right? For adverbs that have more than one syllable. So remember within a sentence, not even a sentence, a word, right? We have a word, and then of course, depending on how we say a word, right? It's either going to have one syllable or more than one syllable. And for adverbs that have more than one syllable, you see, like soon and close have one syllable only. If you say that word, you just say soon. It's not a word with more than one syllable. So it's soon. But now, if you have adverbs, right, that have more than one syllable, and then it means that we need to add either the word more to make it a comparative adverb, or we need to add most to make it a superlative adverb. Because remember, we said that when it comes to comparative adverbs, it means that we are comparing either the action of a person, thing, or group to the action of another person, thing, or group. But when it comes to the superlative adverb, and then it means that we are comparing the action of a person, thing, or group to the action of a larger group that is part of it. And if we look at an example, right, this is now where we have more than one syllable within a word, specifically our adverb. Then we have the word safely. And how do we know that it is two syllables? Because here we have safely. It's two syllables. One, two, safely. And that is basically our base word. If we were to show the comparative adverb, right? Remember we said that if we show the comparative adverb with an adverb that have more than one syllable, and then then we need to add the word more in front of that specific word to show the action. And if we were to show the comparative adverb of safely, so safely is our base word. And if we show the comparative adverbs where we are comparing it to another person, thing, or group of things, then it is more safely. So not safely, yes, more safely. And if we were to compare it like with to a larger group, which is the superlative adverb, and then we say it's the most safely, sorry. All right, and now if we look at an example, right, of our superlative adverb, then remember the superlative adverb, right? It basically compares the action of either a person or thing to a larger group, right? To a group that is two or more, not just two, but more than two. And we see that for the adverbs, right? Early. Let's say we have an adverb early, like over here. Two syllables, more, which is more than one. So if we have an adverb earlier, then we're going to drop the Y and we're going to add the IER. And that is to make the comparative adverb. And we're going to do the same. We drop the Y and we add the IEST, and that is to make the superlative adverb. For example, we have early, two syllables, early, that ends with a Y. And if we were to show our comparative adverb, right, then it is earlier. We dropped the Y and we added the IER. So we said it's earlier. And if we were to show the superlative adverbs also by dropping the Y and adding IEST, we say it's earliest. All right, so now we're going to A plus students.ca, and we're going to form and use comparative and superlative adverbs. So we're going to form and use comparative as well as superlative adverbs. And remember, we said when it comes to comparative adverbs, right, it compares either actions of one person, of a thing or group to another person. So it's comparing the actions that either one person is doing to another person, or one thing is doing to another thing. And we said that the comparative adverb is where we are showing what one person, the action of a person to a larger group. All right, so now we're going to look at our examples, right? We need to basically add the correct comparative or superlative adverbs, either by adding more, most, dropping the Y, adding IER or IEST. All right. If we look at our example, right, it says Russell, not an example, but a sentence. It says Russell seems to think the, we have the word scientifically. So do we either drop the Y, add IER or IEST, or do we add more or most? So we say Russell seems to think. So we can say the most scientifically because it is he's comparing himself to his friends. So we can say that he thinks the most scientifically. Most. Because remember, we are comparing it to a larger group. So we say most scientifically. All right, let's look at another one and then we're going to our test. All right, and here we say if we were to complete the sentence, it says Joe behaves. Remember, there's two syllables, maturely. It's three syllables actually. So Joe behaves maturely of any young man I've ever met. So maturely, do we now add the comparative or superlative adverb? It says Joe behaves the maturely of any other young man I've ever met. So which means that we are comparing Joe to another man. So which means that it's going to be the comparative adverb. Or actually superlative. And it says Joe behaves the maturely of any young man I've ever met. So if we compare him to any other young man, then we can say he acts the most maturely, which is superlative. All right, so now we're going to our test where we are going to form and use comparative and superlative adverbs. All right, so we need to complete the sentence with the correct comparative adverb or superlative adverb. It says, of Jupiter's 60 or more moons, Metis orbits the close to the surface of the planet. So close, we need to either choose the superlative or the comparative adverb. So close, do we say the close or the closest to the surface of the planet? And if we were to choose the correct option, we will say of Jupiter's 60 or more moons, Metis orbits, we can say the closest to the surface of the planet. So closest is the correct option. Option two. Well done. All right, let's go to the next one. And you're going to choose for us. It says Molly took our defeat do we say the hard or the hardest of everyone on the hockey team? So Molly took our defeat the hard option one or hardest option two of everyone on the hockey team. Which one is correct? Option one hard or option two hardest? And if we were to choose the correct option, then yes, option two is incorrect. Molly took our defeat the hardest, and we added est. That is our superlative adverb. And the last one says, as the sun warms the surface of the earth, the temperature of the land increases. Do we say rapidly or more rapidly than the temperature of the water? So we say, as the sun warms the surface of the earth, the temperature of the land increases. Do we say option one, rapidly, or option two, more rapidly than the temperature of the water? So option one, rapidly, or option two, more rapidly. Which one is correct? So remember, it says, as the sun warms the surface of the earth, the temperature of the land increases than the temperature of the water. And we can then say that it increases more rapidly than the temperature of the water. All right, so more rapidly, which means that that is a comparative adverb. More rapidly, it's comparative adverb, not superlative. Okay, and we say Mr. McBride campaigned, do we say hard or harder than his opponent and won the election? So Mr. McBride, do we say campaigned hard option one or harder option two than his opponent and won the election? Which one is correct? Hard or harder? And if we were to choose the correct option, we would say that Mr. McBride campaigned harder, comparative adverb, than his opponent and won the election. All right. I think when it comes to the adverbs that makes mention of either well, better, best, badly, worse, or worse, I think that is something that we're going to do on our next lesson. Because that is basically already a lesson on its own. All right. So we made mention of adverbs that compare, and we said adverbs that compare, right? Firstly, an adverb is a word that tells us more about, it's basically the action that takes place, right? Whether the action takes place, between one person or more than one person. And we said adverbs that compare actions. We have a comparative adverb as well as a superlative adverb. A comparative adverb, it compares the actions of a person or thing to another person or thing. And then if we compare the actions like superlative adverbs, and then it is us comparing the actions of either a person or thing to a larger group of things. All right, so now this is the end of our lesson on adverbs that compare. Thank you, everybody, for joining the class. And I really hope that you're going to have a good day further. All right. So this is the end of our lesson. Thank you, everybody. So till next time. Goodbye.